Hello and welcome to the Game Theory Podcast off-season preview series where Bryce Simon and I dive deep into all of the biggest moves that NBA teams have to make this upcoming summer. And we have a doozy today in the Phoenix Suns insofar as, I mean, look, this organization just feels messy right now for myriad reasons. But before we get into why, we just want to stop and say thank you for subscribing to the channel, for hanging out, for rocking with us. Over 42,000 of you have hit the subscribe button over on the YouTube channel. We appreciate you guys immensely for hanging out, having a good time as Bryce and I talk ball. Hit the subscribe button if you haven't yet. Hit the like button if you haven't yet. Go subscribe on all of your podcast feeds. All of these off-season previews also go up on the podcast feed around noon Eastern time every single day. Please go hit that button. But now let's get into the Phoenix Suns. Bryce, this really just revolves around one decision here. Like that's the entirety of this offseason right now in terms of previewing it. It's what do the Phoenix Suns do with Kevin Durant? It feels fairly likely that he will be traded this summer. He has 1 year left on his contract. He is, in theory, extension eligible if they would want to go down that road. But this is a team that desperately needs to make a move in some respect, at least. You can't go into next season with the same core trio of Durant, Devin Booker, Bradley Beal that you did this past season and expect different results, in my opinion. These three guys, really just Beal and Durant at this point. It's hard to rely on them, I think, to play more than 60 to 65 games, given their recent history. Sometimes it might happen, but given that and given how this team has really very little depth and very few options to be able to create any depth, they probably have to move on from one of these guys. And Durant ultimately is the one that makes the most sense because Devin Booker is theoretically your franchise centerpiece. He is eligible for an extension this summer. We should talk about that at some point as well. But Bradley Beal just doesn't have any value to be able to go out and create the kind of depth that you need. It just feels like we're hurtling toward a Kevin Durant deal, and it feels like one of the most likely things of the summer right now.
Yeah, it truly does. You outlined it there with the three players who have the real potential. I don't know. I guess two of the three have value. The other one, is we've talked about it plenty. So Durant was the one that makes the most sense if you're going to keep Booker. Like if you're not going to completely blow this whole thing up, you keep Booker 29 years old, 28 years old, whatever it is. And you hope you can build out over the next 4 or 5 seasons around him. So what can you go out and get to Kevin Durant? I think what is interesting, Sam, is what does Kevin Durant return in a trade? We've talked about this a little bit on some other offseason previews in terms of, is the return going to be what people think whenever you say the name Kevin Durant? And part of that is because you've already outlined, the games played situation because of his age. It just is part of the deal as you get older. And what contract is a team going to give him because he is going into the last year of his deal? So is a team going to acquire Kevin Durant for that 1 year and then not want to pay him long term? Well, they're not going to want to pay as much if they do that in terms of the return to the Suns, or they're going to say, hey, we're going to have to pay 37-year-old Kevin Durant for 2 or 3 more seasons at $50+ million. And so we're taking on quite a risk here. So because of that, we also can't send you back as much in return. So I just wonder if the Durant trade, I wonder what it ends up being. And I'm preparing myself to be a little bit underwhelmed for the return on one of the best players we've seen play our game.
Yeah. And look, when we say this, like Kevin Durant is still going to return value in a trade.
Yes.
Like it's not like he's like anything resembling a negative deal. It's just like they paid Mikal Bridges and 4 first-round picks to get him, right? And like the return is going to be nowhere near that. Like there's just no real. I would be surprised to see the team out there that does this for a significant, crazy amount of asset capital. I want to just kind of lay out the financial picture here for the Suns. This feels like one of those ones where we have to do that before we dive into this.
Yeah.
So, as you'll see, if you're watching on YouTube, I've listed out the guys that are under contract: Devin Booker, Bradley Beal, Grayson Allen, Kevin Durant, Nick Richards, Royce O'Neal, Cody Martin, Ryan Dunn, Oso Ighodaro. I've not included Vasa Micic. He has a team option. I cannot imagine that the team is going to pick up a team option for Vasa Micic at $8 million. The other interesting one here is Cody Martin. Cody Martin has a team option or a non-guarantee, I apologize, for right around $8 million again. The thing is, I'm a little bit more questionable as to whether or not they're willing to do that. He's obviously not worth $8 million at this point. I feel like injuries have kind of hindered what looked like an incredibly fun defensive first player when he first got to Charlotte and was really impacting the game after being a second round pick. But I wonder if there is some flexibility created by having his deal as like a pseudo exception expiring deal. Because again, like this is a team that does not have much in the way of exceptions because they're a second apron team. They do not have their taxpayer mid-level. They really only have like the second round exception for the number 52 overall pick and vet minimums to give out. So I have included Cody Martin in this for now. If they don't end up continuing down this road, I won't be stunned, but it's just at least worth noting in laying out that situation from a financial perspective. They have $209.5 million guaranteed for 10 players, not including Micic, including their first rounder, number 29 overall. That's about $2.5 million over the second apron. So depending on the Durant deal that they do, they actually have some potential to get under the second apron here and create a little bit more flexibility. I don't think that they really have a mechanism to get under the first apron unless Durant like moves for way less than what I'm expecting. And, they're able to like dump contracts into Brooklyn or something. Like it would have to be very complicated. The other thing with Phoenix worth noting too, is that they do have some trade flexibility with first round picks. I believe that they have one first rounder that they can trade, plus they can trade number 29 after they make the actual selection via Stepien rules. I believe that the first that they can trade is either a 2028 or a 2031 first rounder, or it might be like 2026 and 2030 or something. That they can move one of those picks basically because of the way that they have traded out their picks previously. So that makes it complicated as well here for the Suns. And on top of it, those picks have no real upside value. They are all like the worst of three teams selecting. It's like the worst of, Memphis, Washington, and Orlando is 2026, right? Like it's going to be interesting to see how they're able to handle all of these situations here. But if we're going to be positive, we can say that there is some light at the end of the like financial hell tunnel, sort of, if they move Durant for a deal that, saves them like $10 million or something like that.
Yeah, I mean, you still have 2 years on the Bradley Beal deal, including the player option. But a lot of other guys, like you said, they're either off the books. Like Royce O'Neal's deal is not bad at all. We've talked about Grayson Allen's deal. Like I would assume they could move it if they really wanted to reset the books. It's funny. I was looking at their dead money and they have Nasir Little at $3 million through 2030, 31. So yeah, that is kind of funny dead money there. But the Martin thing, I want to go back to that real quick. That's interesting because like it
for what it's worth, I forgot the Nasir Little money in this projection, him having $3 million. So whatever this is, add $4 million to their projection in terms of this being 213.5 now, because they also have 700 for EJ Liddell next year.
Yeah. So Cody Martin, I realize like you could save, every dollar over the tax is, more money or whatever, but from a basketball, like roster construction, letting him go, like it doesn't open up any mechanism to replace him as a player. You know what I mean? Like it's not getting you under the tax where now you're a non-tax ML team as opposed to a tax ML team or anything like that. And so to me, it's like, even though he's not an $8 million player, $8.5 million player, you might as well keep him for a team that has a hard time filling out your roster with real rotation players. And so I wonder if they do just keep him because of that. So it will be an interesting decision. I mean, ultimately, like I said, it comes down to Durant. And I think the thing with Durant also is I feel like they're going to value players, right, over picks in regards to this trade. And so like, that's what's interesting to me as well, in terms of, do they try to, I would be interested if they value the cap flexibility. Like you said, is there a way to not bring back a whole lot of money, send some into Brooklyn's space or something like that, and bring back future draft capital and not much money, or at least not much long-term money? Or do they actually try to make a trade that makes the roster better, where they get a center and whatever, a defensive wing, and try to make the roster better that way? So I'm interested to see what they value and prioritize.
So let's just like talk about the Durant deal, because that's ultimately where all of this is leading to. Kevin Durant has 1 year, $54.7 million left. The team that people bring up is Houston. Houston is in an interesting position. They finished second in the West this year. They very clearly need like offensive firepower, but they're a really young team, and Durant might not necessarily fit their age timeline, right? Now, are they just good enough to where getting Kevin Durant for the right deal would be valuable? Like, maybe. I'll hear that out. What are your thoughts on Houston for Kevin Durant?
My gut reaction is no, with the caveat that, like, I guess I could be talked into portions of this roster are ready to compete now. And is he just like the stopgap until they find the longer term star? Like, is there something wrong with a roster that is really ready to compete at the highest level, getting an aging star for 2 years, maybe 3 years, to be that offensive like option they need to what they feel like they need to go to the next level? I guess I can understand that, especially if you balance the contract and the numbers where it doesn't crush your long-term flexibility, right? Like, I guess I could understand it. Like, again, my initial reaction is no, it doesn't fit the timeline, but I guess it depends. Like, is Amin ready right now? Who is going to be a part of that, Sam? Is Amin ready right now? Is Şengün ready right now? If you add Durant to this roster, is that the missing piece? And I guess if it is, then who cares if he's 37 years old? You get a couple years, and then once his contract's gone, then you find the next guy that maybe does fit the timeline a little bit better. So do you think those guys are ready right now? Or like you waiting on Reed Shepherd and Tari and some of those guys to go ahead and get there if you don't think they're ready right now?
I think it's worth exploring this if you're Houston, but I'm not giving up a whole lot, right?
Yeah, what's the package that Phoenix is going to like in this scenario? Because like the name that I immediately think is Jalen Green, right? Like, do they see Jalen Green, Devin Booker backcourt as something they'd be excited about?
Maybe. Like, it's hard to say. Like, I don't know is the answer to that, unfortunately. Like, so the way that you can construct this deal, like there are multiple avenues. Like, you could do financially, first and foremost. Like, I'm not saying from a value perspective yet. You could do Jalen Green and Dylan Brooks. That gets the money like damn near dead even. You could do, I think, like Fred VanVleet, and I want to say like Jock Landale gets you like quite close in terms of the money to where I think it would work. You could do the other like interesting one to me, and this is the one that I wonder about, is could you do a month after the draft, you sign your player, number 10 overall immediately. You basically draft the player for the Phoenix Suns. You do, what is it? Jalen Green, Jock Landale, Aaron Holiday, and then that player who would be on like $6 million a year. So you don't do it pre-draft. You just do it a month after the draft, basically, in order to make the finances work there. Like I can see something like that. I don't think from a value perspective, though, if I'm Houston, I'm willing to give up much more than like Jalen Green in number 10. Like, I don't think I'm giving up any of like the future Phoenix firsts. Like, I don't want to give up the 2027 Phoenix first. I don't want to give up, the 2029, like Dallas Phoenix, like swap, first rounder to them in order to get Kevin Durant. If that's the price, like I'm willing to let Kevin Durant go elsewhere, and I'm willing just to like continue shorting the Phoenix Suns.
So yeah, because I guess we're on the same page here then, because to me, that is when you do start to compromise the future a little bit, right? I think the trades you outlined don't necessarily compromise the future of what you have drafted, and I assume believe in Amin Thompson, in Alperen Şengün, assuming they still are very high on Reed Shepherd, Tari, etc. Jabari, I haven't mentioned Jabari yet. I'm sure people have learned this about me through these offseason previews. I like windows, right? Like I would rather take the longer window. And so I want to stay consistent with that, where I don't want to jeopardize that window if I'm the Rockets. You have worked very hard. You have a really good coach. You have a really good young core that we always rave about. I don't want to completely demolish that window for 1 or 2 years of Kevin Durant. If I can do a trade that keeps that window open with my young players and my draft picks, I'm more open to that. Like I would be okay with that move much, much more. Like honestly, number 10 is kind of interesting to me if that's the pick that has to be involved, because I've drafted all of these young guys recently anyways. It wouldn't crush me as, for the Rockets if they took a year off from adding another talented young player, because you have all of these other picks coming up in the future. And so I'd rather trade that than something out in the future, like you said, where you're shorting the Suns, because maybe one of those guys is the pick or the mechanism. Maybe those picks are what gets you the next guy. When Durant retires, you package those, because now Amin is a couple years in and he's been competing at the highest level in the playoffs, and Şengün is a couple more years. You really are going to find out about your team, because theoretically you're going to be competing at the highest level. You'll know exactly what star you need. Like, I don't even know that I love putting Fred in the deal, because I think if I'm going for it, the next couple years, Sam, I think I want Fred on the roster in that scenario.
Yeah, no, I am 1,000% with you on that. I do not want to include Fred in a deal. Not to say that like Fred is amazing, but Fred's like a quite good basketball player in my opinion. Certainly like a top half of the league starting point guard. But I worry a little bit that if you do that, you deplete your current roster for Kevin Durant a little bit too much, in a way that when the whole point is to try and contend right now, if you're getting Kevin Durant, it's almost not worth doing the deal at that point.
Yeah. And what's interesting to me is like, okay, well, the pick would be interesting if I'm Phoenix. I still struggle with the Jalen Green aspect, not in terms of like a talented player to take a chance on for Phoenix, but like, is that what you want to do with your backcourt, right? If you're trading Kevin Durant, is Jalen Green the player that you want to add, as opposed to a bigger wing or a center or something like that to start building out with Devin Booker? Or, you know what I mean? Like I from a Phoenix perspective, I don't know that I'm not trying to like crush on Jalen Green right now. I'm just saying like, I'm not sure that that's the archetype of player I would be looking for in return if I'm looking for players to move this thing forward. So the Houston situation is a little bit tougher than what I thought maybe it would be to find the exact right deal.
The other team that like I think you can think about here, there are a couple others. Like Miami, I think is interesting. You can do like Andrew Wiggins and Duncan Robinson makes the money work, and that saves Phoenix about $6.5 million, and then figure out the assets on the back end, right? Like maybe it's number 20 and Jovic or something, whatever that is, right?
Sure.
Jaquez, whoever you want to say, like number 20 and like one of those guys, right?
Where you gonna get?
I don't know that I want to give up Khalil Ware if I'm Miami.
No, that's
honestly.
I'm kind of with you. If I'm Phoenix, I would try.
Yeah, if I'm Phoenix, I'm absolutely like, that's the guy I want for sure, because he fills my center position.
Correct.
Long term. Like, would I do if it's only Khalil and not number 20? Like, if Phoenix just like targets Khalil Ware and is like, okay, this is the guy we want, we'll do Wiggins, Duncan Robinson, and Khalil Ware. I'd think that's at least one where I would have to think about it, because particularly if you're keeping number 20 in this class, I would bet you that one of Thomas Sorber, Danny Wolf, Johan Berenger, like somebody is going to be there at number 20 that allows you to fill that center position if you want to do that.
Having 20 and 29, Phoenix should feel pretty good about getting a quality. Like, I think we like some of those centers in that range.
I'm talking about it from Miami's perspective, than Phoenix.
Oh, yeah. Sorry. Miami replacing. Yeah. Oh, because they're not putting number 20 in the deal now with Ware. So then replacing Ware with the 20th pick. Gotcha.
Yeah. And look, like, I don't know how many of those guys have like the upside that Khalil Ware does if it all comes together. But, the whole point is that you're getting Kevin Durant, right? And the reason that I think you can make a case for this if you're Phoenix, if you're Miami, is that you're clearing your books for the next summer and creating a circumstance where you can go and really be a player in a star trade market or in free agency, because Durant's deal is only 1 year. You can maybe keep Durant next summer if you want. You can look into other stars. You can look into other stars to pair with Durant, potentially, depending on what contract he's willing to accept. It creates a little bit more flexibility for you by moving off of the Wiggins deal and bringing in Durant, who's obviously a star player and is fantastic.
Yeah, it seems like those names are those are interesting. Like what Miami has, we always talk about the Rockets, just overall asset chest is about as good as anybody's. But in terms of this specific deal and what those teams should be willing to give up, Miami almost seems to have ones that fit a little bit more interesting with this specific deal in terms of value, what you want to give up, positions, all of that. It's interesting.
I mean, if I'm Phoenix, I'm certainly trying to target Toronto, I think, is a potential spot, if only because they have Jakob Poeltl, right? And Poeltl fills the center position potentially long term. RJ Barrett and Jakob Poeltl works financially.
Is Poeltl and Barrett get you there?
It does get you there financially. It would save the Suns like $5-ish million, no, like $7 million, like something like that. So, not terrible. And if you're Toronto and you think that you're just not re-signing Jakob Poeltl, like if you've made that calculation in your head, and maybe this allows you to keep number 9 and you move out a future first with these guys or something. Maybe this is just like enough, honestly, like RJ Barrett and Jakob Poeltl, if they want win now players. But I think I would want to pick if I was Phoenix in this circumstance. I don't think I would give up number 9 with Poeltl and Barrett though if I'm Toronto.
That's what I was going to ask. Because if I'm Phoenix, if I can get Poeltl, Barrett, and 9, I think I take that. Like the situation.
Yeah.
I mean, it seems crazy for Kevin Durant, right? But we said this at the top with the age, games played, the contract situation. But that's an interesting return with Poeltl at the center position, Barrett, that's interesting. Yeah.
I mean, they also have some like younger guys that you could throw in too. Like, is Jacoby Walter equivalent to a first rounder for Phoenix? Is, is Grady Dick equivalent? Whoever you want to put in there, you can throw in there as well. But I think it would be like those guys in like one piece. It would not be, multiple assets to me.
From Toronto's perspective, this would be interesting, especially if they did give up 9, because then them filling in their center position would be interesting. Like, how are they going to fill that out?
Would basically have to be number 9.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. They might be better off trading. Like, they may be better off adding Grady Dick to that trade as opposed to number 9, because you're bringing Kevin Durant on the wing anyway. And we've talked about, well, I guess you're sending out.
I just think, just straight up, I don't think you're moving number 9 if you're moving Poeltl and Barrett.
Yeah.
In that deal. I just I'm not saying that like that's unfair from Phoenix's perspective or anything. Like if I'm Phoenix, that's almost certainly what I'm asking for. And I don't think it's a crazy ask from Phoenix's perspective. It's just that if I'm Toronto, like I don't know that that makes me better at the end of the day. Like I don't know if it makes me good enough, I guess is the point here, to be able to make that kind of move. I mean, like the other team here that I think makes a ton of sense is the Clippers, maybe. Like, could you find a way to do it?
Go for it for 1 year. I was just saying, go for it for 1 year with this roster.
Like like you can do Derek Jones, Bogdan, and Norman Powell for KD, and that gets you there financially.
Interesting.
And then you add you add assets, whatever you have to add in terms of pick value.
Still would have done Zubac. I mean, if healthy, that's an interesting team.
Yeah, if healthy, you now have Chris Dunn, James Harden, Kevin Durant, Kawhi Leonard, Ivica Zubac. Like that's your starting group. That is the one that makes the most sense to me, is probably the Clippers at this point, if I'm being honest. Because what this does as well is it doesn't, like the Clippers, I think, would like to have some flexibility for 2026. This doesn't hinder that at all. Like they're not, they're not stopping themselves from being players in free agency or in the star market in 2026 by trading for Kevin Durant for a year.
Yeah.
And if you're the Suns here, you'd be saving in a Derek Jones, Bogdan Bogdanovic, Norman Powell deal. You'd be saving $8.2 million, probably getting some pick capital. So like, the Clippers have this year number 30. I believe that they can move like one other first, maybe. They might be able to move their like 2031 first. You might have to do something like that in order to get this over the line. But, on some level, is it just worth, increasing your depth with three guys that like can sort of actually play? I still don't think you're good enough at that point to be able to win enough games to where it's worthwhile. But like, is there a way that the Clippers could maybe go out and like involve a third team to go get like another pick or something like that?
Yeah.
In addition to number 30.
Yeah, because for Phoenix, you have Derek Jones Jr. is just on a good contract, but Bogdan is team option for 26-27 and Norm Powell's an expiring. So flexibility wise for LA, for the Clippers it'd be interesting just because of whatever happens with Harden being on the player option, and Kawhi does have one more year. I mean, I just wonder, like, depending on what Harden does this offseason and all of that, like maybe you try to get 2 years out of it. You wouldn't have the cap flexibility then in 2026, but interesting. Yeah, it's an interesting team.
Yeah, you could like convince Durant to do this by like adding a year to his deal and saying like, hey, like we'll give you, one more year at 55 million or whatever. And that'll line you up with Kawhi.
Yeah.
It'll, maybe we'll sign James to a 2-year, $70 million deal.
So
that's what he's on now.
That was my thought, right? Was like, okay, Kawhi's still on the books for 50 and 26-27 anyway. If you do this, I wonder if you just line those three guys up, give Durant another year, give Harden the 2-year, take away the player option, then give the 2-year. And you're not players necessarily in 2026 offseason, but you're players in the 2027 offseason where essentially all you would have on the books that offseason is Zubac and, some rookie scale deals.
So if you added $8 million to the Clippers cap sheet, they're actually like still pretty okay financially. It looks like, they're 15 million away from the first apron right now. So it's workable. It is actually workable for them. So like they would not be a second apron team if they did this.
I worry about their overall depth behind all of that. But when you said that starting lineup, and again, health is a caveat. And again, this is why the Kevin Durant trades that we're throwing out there don't have 4 first-round picks and, multiple young stars and stuff like that. but the potential of that starting lineup, if you could then round out the depth, is kind of interesting. Like that is definitely an interesting team. So,
yeah. I mean, I'll pop it up on the screen, just like that. A deal that works financially here would be, Kevin Durant for Norm Powell, Bogdan Bogdanovic, and Derek Jones. Like again, like I don't know if this is something even the Suns would consider, but
yeah,
it is a tricky.
This is probably of the ones we've talked about. This is probably the one. In terms of the players, it's probably the one I'm least excited about, I would say.
Yeah, I think I would agree. In fact, I would definitely agree with that. There'd have to be pick value going back, is the thing. And they have number 30 and they only have one first. Like maybe you do get the Clippers 2031 first. But if I'm the Clips, like I don't know if I want to do that in this deal.
Yeah. Again, that's where it's tricky. And it'll be interesting for Phoenix in terms of do they value returning players? Do they just value the pick capital and expirings for flexibility on their end of things? So
is there like a way where it's, the Clips trade the 2031 first and then get one of these like bullshit firsts back kind of thing? Like worst first rounder of Utah, Cleveland, Minnesota in 2027. You know what I mean? Or worst first rounder in 2028 of actually this would be the one to do. If you did the 2028 first rounder that Phoenix has then, which I think works. So it's number 30 in the Clippers 2031 first, and then the Suns send Durant in the 2028 first rounder back. That actually opens up the Clippers trade flexibility in terms of the 2027 and 2029 first rounders that they own, because then they would have a 2028 first round pick.
They can avoid the Stepien rule then with the 2028.
Yeah, that's actually interesting. And I wonder if the Suns do that and they're like, okay, now we actually have like an upside laden first round pick to be able to move in a deal.
Interesting.
Plus number 30.
So Phoenix gets an extra first this year and then that 2031.
Mm-hmm. And then the Clippers get Durant and the Suns 2028 first rounder, which is like a bad first rounder because the Nets, Knicks, and Washington hold swap rights on it. So it's just going to be really hard for that pick to be valuable. Like you would assume that one of those teams will be good in 2028.
Yeah.
What that does is it opens up the Clippers being able to trade their 2027 and 2029 first rounders, I believe. Let me check that real quick. I think that they would be able to move their first rounders in. They wouldn't be able to move them next year. They'd be able to move them the year after is what it would be.
But it kind of plays into what we're talking about. If they wanted to trade for Durant, it's let's go win for 2 years, kind of the way we've played it out to match Kawhi's contract. And then we'll figure it out from there. Like they're completely going something new after that because Kawhi's going to be late 30s, Harden, mid 30s.
Honestly, if for what it's worth, if I was the Clippers, I probably wouldn't extend Durant. I would be happy going into next summer with Durant's cap hold and the ability to have the flexibility of saying, okay, maybe we bring back Harden and Durant if we really like where this went this year, or we can pitch to free agents or whoever that, oh, we have Kawhi and Zubats in max cap space.
That's fair. I guess I think then some of that depends on what Harden's willing to do this offseason, right? In terms of like, does he exercise his player option or does he, does something happen there? I was kind of wondering if maybe in this scenario, Harden forces the hand a little bit to get an extra year added onto that or something like that. But I would be okay with that as well in terms of if Harden is just going to play this out, exercise the player option, I would be okay with that as well in terms of getting 1 year out of it and then playing it off into next offseason and seeing what kind of flexibility you could have there. Sure.
Yeah. I mean, the other option here is the Grizzlies, but like, I think the Grizzlies are going to use their cap space in order to renegotiate and extend Jaren, which makes it just inherently less valuable for Phoenix, unfortunately. So look, I think that's where we're at on Phoenix with the Durant stuff. I mean, anything else, like, look, they have to find a center for next season. Like, that is the reality. Nick Richards is a serviceable backup, but he's not a starting center in the NBA. The other option here is they could look to move Royce O'Neal and Grayson Allen for flexibility. Honestly, like, I think that there would be some real takers for Grayson at the end of the day. I know that last season was merely fine for Grayson Allen, but by the end of the year, after a terrible start, you look up and he still shot 45, 43, 82 after like a truly like terrible start to the season, as he was dealing with I think it was like a lower body injury, if my memory serves. So like, I think that there is some real potential there. Like, if you look at his last 41 games of the season, Grayson Allen in 24 minutes averaged 11 points, 3 rebounds, 2 assists, shooting 47, 46, 80. Like, he was back to 46% from 3 again on 6 3-point attempts per game. Like, if you want just an absolute sniper on a deal, it's $16 million. Like, that is absolutely something worthwhile, I think, with Grayson Allen. And, if I was a team that had like a real trade exception, like if I was Atlanta and have that $23 million trade exception for DeJounte Murray, I would probably be happy to take the Grayson Allen deal into that exception.
I don't know that he doesn't get enough respect for the way he shoots the ball, man. Like, at least maybe for me, almost.
No, he really might be, like, I think he's one of the 5 best shooters in the league.
Well, so to say, like, you take out his rookie year, he has almost 2,000 3-point attempts and has knocked him down at 42%. And I mean, just along with it, 87% from the free throw line. Just that those are sick numbers. And he's a 40% 3-point shooter in the 26 playoff games he's played in as well. Like, his rookie year, it looks like, wasn't great. 23, 24 wasn't great, but there was a 3-year stretch there where he shot 42% on, I mean, legit floor spacing. And what he's on, he's a little over the tax MLE by what is it, 18, 16, something like that.
He's on 16.8 million.
Yeah. So he's going to be $1 million or $2 million over the non-tax MLE. So like nothing super crazy there. So yeah, but to me, that's a valuable player for the Suns. I guess it depends on what the return in the Durant trade is on what you do with him.
Yeah, like, I guess that's my thing. Like, if you're doing the Durant deal and you decide to take back like his full 54 million in the deal, then I wonder if there's like a taker for Grayson Allen into like a trade exception. You know what I mean? Like, if I was Brooklyn, I would like almost certainly take the Grayson Allen deal, because the kind of guys that help your players develop and become better are floor spacers, shooters, like guys that really can knock down shots. Like, you want space for Cam Thomas to explore the studio. You want space for, whoever you draft at number 8 and number 19 this year to be able to, see what they have at the end of the day. So yeah, I mean, like, I would take him into cap space if I was Brooklyn. I would happily take him into a trade exception if I was Atlanta. Like, I think that this makes a lot of sense across the board.
I can't help but wonder as we talk through this, like, what is Devin Booker's appetite for this going to be?
So I mean? That's where we should close.
Yeah.
Because Devin Booker, I believe, is eligible for an extension this summer if he wants to. I will be interested to see if he's willing to take, it's like a crazy number. Like, he's eligible for like a 2-year, like $150 million extension is the number. So like, if I'm Devin, I don't know, man. Like, I might just lock in that money.
Sure. Yeah.
Like,
lock it in.
I get it. If you don't want to be there like super long term and you're worried about the direction and, hey, let's make them prove it. You've got 3 years left, whatever you want to do. But shit, man, like $75 million a year, $75 million a year, Bryce. Like if they're willing to give me that money, like I got to do it, I think.
Well, and my thing is like, do it now. And then, a year from now, if you're really unhappy, like you think they bombed the Durant trade, you don't love the draft, whatever, you're just like, this has continued to be a disaster, ask for the trade. And in a trade, you're still only, quote unquote, at a $57 million number, right? Like, don't wait to ask for the trade when you're on the $75 million number where it makes it tougher to match. Like, ask in the next couple of years.
So I will say, if he plays the way he did this year, where he was fine, like he was a top 30 to 35 player in the league, not a top 10 player in the league like we've seen previously from Devin. And myriad reasons for that too, where like the team was not very good around him. He had to play way more like on the ball and play point a little bit more consistently. Even with Tyus there, it felt like he had to like play on the ball a little bit more consistently. If he is more of like a top 35 guy as opposed to a top 15, 10 guy, that is a catastrophic deal. And like nobody wants, like he does not have trade value at that point.
Okay. So that my mind went there. I didn't want it to. He has to be a top what player once that money is on the books for it to be like a value tradable contract.
Top all NBA player.
Top 10?
It has to be an all NBA player.
Top 15? I would say.
So it's top 15. Yeah. Even top 20, like if he gets all NBA votes, I think it would be fine. I think.
Sam, that's a lot of money. Like
it would be on the books. He would have, I'll just do like quick math. So, 150 plus 110 is 260. He'd have 320 on the books for 5 years.
I think I'm backtracking on my own. I just
look, the reality is that Brian Windhorst says that they're going to offer him, like they're expected to offer him this extension.
Yeah.
So like, I think they're going to offer him it. To me, it's more like, does he accept it? I think if I'm him, I lock in the money, man.
Because he's not a free agent until he's going to be what, like 31, 32? I mean,
he would be 32, I believe. Yeah. 31? You might be right. Be in 3 years. So he'd be 31 when he was a free agent. Yeah.
I think I locked that money in.
I think I do too. And if you're planning on locking the money in, then you're here for the long haul to me. You might be able to try and ask out, but like, you're then becoming, and like, look, there are worse things in the world than living in Phoenix and becoming like, the Suns' all-time leading scorer, which he would almost certainly become if he plays there 5 more years. And, like it's a good position, I think.
I worry about the direction of this organization, Sam. And
maybe that's where we close. Maybe that's where we finish this, right? I'm sorry. Devin Booker is actually the all-time leading scorer in Phoenix. That did happen this year. I remembered that like right as I said that. So shout out Devin, but like he would put like such separation between him and like everybody there. And look, like he's a multi-time all NBA player. He is, a guy that certainly, was a first team all NBA player just 3 years ago, right? He is a player that has a real, chance to be a Hall of Famer at some point, but he's probably on that edge right now of, I need to keep like this steady, right? I need to keep rolling along. So if he cares about that, then like maybe it's a little bit harder to sign the extension, especially when you already have, how much money does Devin have guaranteed in his career already? He has, he's made 100 and let's see here. No, he's made 217 million so far in his career and has another 170 left. So like on this deal alone, so he'll have made 380. Like, maybe he is worried about the direction and wants to be like, cares about that. I don't know. I don't know what Devin wants is the thing.
So that's I guess that's why I bring it up though, is it's like, we're only talking about it because it's the only thing being talked about. I'm a little surprised that it's just being said like, oh, Kevin Durant's going to get traded and then everything's going to be okay. I'm like, are we sure we're not 12 months from now and Devin Booker's asking out and it's like,
oh no, I think this has potential to get way worse. Yeah, and the real reason is like, look, like we can talk about Matt Ishbia here. Like we talked about it on the show, that we recorded last week. Gerald Bourguet, who does an amazing job covering the Phoenix Suns, down there. He, somehow got access to an email apparently that Ishbia sent to the Suns staff. Basketball operations team internally, taking accountability for not doing enough to establish a culture and identity in Phoenix. He said that he tried running the typical NBA owner playbook of hiring experts, signing checks, and getting out of the way, but no one was happy with the outcome. Now, despite insisting that he is not reviewing film, designing offenses, or running the draft room, Ishbia intends to be, quote, extremely active in the decisions in management. He acknowledged his more unconventional approach as an owner is to ensure the Suns get back to the requisite level of winning that's been absent the last few years. Nobody thinks this is a good idea, except for him.
I had bad judgment in hiring people to make decisions. So instead, I'm just going to use my judgment to make decisions.
And it's crazy for him to act like he wasn't involved in all of these to start. Like within 2 days of owning the team, they traded for Kevin Durant. Like that's an ownership level decision. I'm sorry. Like trading all of your entire future for Kevin Durant, draft pick wise, and Mikal Bridges for KD is an ownership level decision. Like you can't sit here and say like who, all due respect to James Jones, right? Like who has he hired? Like the experts, right? Like he hired like a scouting room that he's already gotten rid of. And frankly, that scouting room did a very good job because they identified Tomani Kamara, who then the team summarily traded for in the DeAndre Ayton deal to get Yusuf Nurkic. Like, yeah, you tried to run the typical owner playbook of hiring experts. Those experts worked, my guy. They found you the guy that you wanted and you fired them. Like, if I like, yeah, no, there's just no circumstance where if I was like on the team side and I was like a rising executive, there's no circumstance I'm going to work here, like point blank. And look, this could be why Brian Gregory, who is a college basketball coach who made the NCAA tournament, like not very often, frankly, in his career of, quite a few years. He was the coach at Dayton for, 8 years, I believe, made the NCAA tournament twice, got out of the first round once, was the Georgia Tech coach for 5 years, never got to the NCAA tournament, was the coach at South Florida for 6 years, never got to the NCAA tournament. And like he has the, Tom Izzo stamp because he was an assistant at Michigan State for, a decade or whatever. And like all due respect, I'm sure he's like a smart basketball mind, but like there's nothing in his history that says he should be running a front office. But, if you're an executive right now, league wide, why would you go work there? If Matt Ishbia is going to be as involved and he's going to like potentially stop you from doing the smart things that make sense for your organization.
So this is my point with Booker. Then here's my worry for Suns fans is they trade Kevin Durant for a haul that is more compete over the next few years with Devin Booker than it is cap flexibility or draft capital. And then Booker is asking out by the deadline next year. And you acquired you acquired stuff for Durant that no longer makes sense because now you have to trade your face of the franchise in Booker, and those pieces make no sense for you anymore. Like that is my ultimate fear for the Phoenix Suns, is they make that type of trade for Kevin Durant, and then Booker's asking out 6 months later, and both of them are gone, and you're left with, and if you offer Booker this extension and he takes it, and you don't even get the haul for him that you should because of the money on the books that we just talked about. Like, this is where it's scary that it could get even worse in Phoenix. Like, we joked about how many teams would trade for, situations for the Suns on that live on Thursday after game 1 of the NBA Finals. The sad thing is it could get even worse. And we didn't have very many teams to name that night. That's my fear with Phoenix, is I feel like they're playing with fire. They have a very thin needle to thread here. And if they don't thread it, it's going to get uglier. That's what sucks. That's where I'm nervous for Phoenix Suns fans.
I am too. I'm genuinely, I am very worried for Phoenix Suns fans that this could get very bad for them. But look, here's the other thing. Part of me respects that Matt Ishbia genuinely wants to contend and compete. Sure. This dude is going to spend, and the NBA needs more owners who are willing to just splash money and spend, right? I'm all for that. And I part of me doesn't want to crush him, because I do respect that as somebody that wants players to thrive and be successful. Having an owner that's willing to be in the second apron on a team that didn't make the playoffs last year is amazing for the league. It genuinely is. That's why I don't take joy in having this concern, but that email just lacked such self-awareness that it's hard for me to really wrap my head around it, I guess, in a way.
Yeah. I mean, maybe they figure it out. Maybe they crush the Durant trade. They extend Booker. He's happy. They make some more good draft picks and they start to build it out. But it's definitely possible, but we'll see.
Yeah. Okay. Bryce, tell the people where they can find your work. Tell the people what's going on.
Yeah, at Motor City Hoops on Twitter, on Blue Sky, Substack, the Pistons Pulse podcast. Otherwise, right here, Game Theory podcast with the Sam Vecenie. Thank you, everybody, for your viewership, listenership of all of these offseason previews, along with the NBA Finals coverage, of course. But the feedback on these offseason previews has been so great, and we appreciate you all so much. If you're a Suns fan that watched this and enjoyed this, tell another Suns fan about it. Let them watch and enjoy as well.
I'm sorry if you guys did not enjoy this, because
that is true. Maybe you hate us now. Don't tell anybody else if that's your takeaway.
We apologize immensely to Phoenix fans, but hey, go subscribe. We appreciate you guys immensely. Like Bryce said, thank you all for all the super positive feedback you've given us over the course of the last little while here as we've done this project. I think that this will get us pretty close. I think we'll be slightly over halfway on this now once this goes up. Thank you all for listening. Go to The Athletic. Keep me employed. The draft guide is coming soon there. Until next time, we'll talk soon. Bye.